The Mind Reader's Dilemma. Zara Nexus had always considered her telepathic abilities more of a curse than a gift. Working in the quiet sanctuary of New Europa's interstellar archives, surrounded by ancient texts and star charts, she could usually maintain the mental barriers that kept other people's thoughts from invading her consciousness. The library's peaceful atmosphere helped her focus, and most visitors were scholars, people whose minds were occupied with academic pursuits rather than other things. That peaceful existence shattered the moment Captain Jackson Sterling walked through the library's ornate doors. Zara looked up from her cataloging station, expecting to see another researcher or perhaps a student seeking help with their thesis. Instead, she found herself staring at a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a holographic adventure novel. Tall, broad-shouldered, with tousled dark hair and eyes the color of deep space, he moved with the confident swagger of someone who owned whatever room he entered. Their eyes met across the marble expanse of the main reading hall, and that's when her carefully constructed mental walls came crashing down. Stars above, she's beautiful. His thoughts hit her like a solar flare. Look at those eyes, like twin galaxies, deep and mysterious. Wonder what she looks like when she smiles. Wonder what she sounds like when she... Zara's face flushed crimson as his imagination took a decidedly intimate turn. She dropped the data pad she'd been holding, the clatter echoing through the hushed library like a gunshot. Jax approached her station, his grin widening as he noticed her obvious discomfort. "Sorry about that. Didn't mean to startle you. I'm looking for navigation charts for the Corridon sector. Heard this place has the most comprehensive collection in the quadrant. And I'm hoping the librarian might be willing to show me more than just star maps," his mind continued, painting vivid pictures that made Zara's blush deepen to scarlet. "Maybe over dinner. Maybe over... Yes, charts." "Corridon sector," Zara stammered, her professional composure completely scattered. She stood too quickly, nearly knocking over her chair. "They're in Section 7. Restricted access. You'll need clearance." Jax leaned against her counter, his presence making her heart race in ways that had nothing to do with her telepathic abilities. "Clearance, huh? Think you could help me with that? I promise I'm trustworthy." Trustworthy. With charts, maybe. But looking at her, I'm having thoughts that are anything but trustworthy. The way her hair catches the light, how her lips part when she's nervous. "Stop that!" Zara blurted out, then immediately covered her mouth with both hands, horrified. At her outburst, Jax's eyebrows shot up. "Stop what? I haven't done anything yet." Yet being the operative word. If she keeps looking at me like that with those wide eyes and that adorable blush, I might just... "You're thinking very loudly," Zara whispered, her voice barely audible. For a moment, Jax just stared at her. Then understanding dawned on his face, followed by something that looked suspiciously like delight. "You can read minds." It wasn't a question. Zara nodded miserably, expecting him to back away, to look at her with the mixture of fear and disgust she'd seen so many times before. Instead, his grin became positively wicked. "Well, that explains the blushing. So you heard all that, did you?" He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "What am I thinking now? I'm thinking about how cute she looks when she's flustered. Thinking about whether telepaths are more sensitive in other ways, too. Thinking about what it would be like to kiss someone who could feel exactly what I'm feeling." Zara made a strangled sound and turned away, pressing her palms against her burning cheeks. "Please stop. I don't usually... I can control it most of the time, but your thoughts are very vivid?" Jax suggested helpfully. "Detailed? Passionate? She's even more adorable when she's embarrassed. Wonder if she'd blush like that if I told her what I want to do with my hands, and my mouth, especially my mouth." "This is highly unprofessional," Zara managed, though she couldn't bring herself to move away from the counter that separated them. "I shouldn't be listening to your private thoughts." But you are listening, Jax pointed out, his tone playful rather than accusatory. And judging by that blush, you're not entirely opposed to what you're hearing. The truth of his observation made her flush even deeper, because despite her mortification, despite the complete breach of mental privacy, there was something thrilling about being the focus of such intense, unguarded desire. No one had ever thought about her the way Jax was thinking about her, with such raw appreciation, such creative imagination. "I need to get your charts," she said, desperately trying to regain some semblance of professional dignity. "Wait here. Wait." Gives me time to think about her some more. The way she moves, all grace and nervous energy. Wonder if she'd let me take her to dinner after this. Wonder if she'd let me... "Jackson Sterling," Zara called over her shoulder as she fled toward the restricted archives. "Jax," he called back. "And you are?" "Zara Nexus. Beautiful name for a beautiful woman. Zara Nexus. Sounds like poetry when I think it. Zara, even from..." Across the library, his mental voice reached her clearly, warm and appreciative. She fumbled with the access codes, her hands shaking as his thoughts continued to wash over her. Wonder what she sounds like saying my name. Wonder if she'd whisper it or moan it. Wonder if... "Could you please think about something else?" She called out, not caring if other patrons stared. His laughter echoed through the reading hall. "Like what?" "I don't know. Star charts, cargo manifests, anything but..." She gestured helplessly in his direction. "But you're the most interesting thing I've encountered in months, years maybe. When's the last time I met someone who could actually know what I'm thinking and still stick around to talk to me?" That thought, more sincere than the playful fantasies, made Zara pause in her search through the chart archives. There was something almost vulnerable in it, a loneliness that his confident exterior had hidden. Most people see the ship, the uniform, the swagger, and they think they know me. But you can see past all that, can't you? See what I'm really thinking, really feeling. When she returned with the requested charts, Jax was sitting in one of the reading chairs, his expression more serious than before. "Find what you needed?" she asked softly. "Maybe more than I needed," he replied, accepting the data chips. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and Zara felt a jolt of something. Not quite telepathy, but a deeper connection. She felt that too. "Interesting. The charts are on loan for 2 weeks standard," Zara said, her voice steadier now. "There's a fee for extended access. What if I wanted to come back before then? You know, to consult additional resources? To see you again? To keep talking to the first person who's ever really heard me?" Zara met his eyes, seeing past the surface charm to the genuine interest beneath. "The library is open every day. Standard hours." "And the librarian? Does she work every day? Please say yes. Please say you'll be here when I come back." "She does," Zara confirmed, surprised by her own boldness. Jack stood, tucking the chart data into his jacket. "Then I'll definitely be back. After all, I might need help navigating, and maybe if I'm very lucky, the beautiful librarian might let me buy her dinner. Might let me show her that some thoughts are worth sharing." As he walked toward the exit, Zara called after him. "Jax!" He turned, eyebrows raised in question. "Try to think quieter next time. Other people work here too." His grin was pure mischief. "I make no promises. Some thoughts are too loud to whisper. Especially thoughts about you, Zara Nexus. Especially those." Even after he was gone, Zara could feel the lingering warmth of his mental presence, like sunlight on her consciousness. For the first time in her life, her telepathic abilities didn't feel like a burden. They felt like a gift. Hearts and minds collide. 3 days after their first encounter, Zara was still finding excuses to glance toward the library entrance every few minutes. Jax had visited twice more, each time ostensibly needing additional navigation data, but spending most of his time leaning against her counter and thinking increasingly creative thoughts that made her blush from her hairline to her collar. She was cataloging a shipment of ancient Earth literature when the emergency klaxons began wailing. Throughout New Europa Station, "Attention all personnel." The station commander's voice crackled over the intercom. "Massive solar storm approaching. All non-essential areas will be evacuated immediately. Report to designated shelter zones or evacuate via personal craft. This is not a drill." Panic swept through the library as researchers and students scrambled to gather their belongings. Zara quickly began securing the rare manuscripts and sensitive databanks, her hands moving on autopilot while her mind raced. She lived in the station's residential quarters, one of the areas being evacuated. "Zara!" Jax's voice cut through the chaos. She looked up to see him pushing through the crowd of fleeing people, his expression urgent. "We need to go, now!" "Thank the stars she's still here. Thought I might be too late." "I have to secure the archives," she protested, even as another alarm joined the cacophony. "These documents are irreplaceable." "So are you," he said firmly, catching her hand. "The station's automated systems will handle preservation protocols. But if that solar storm hits while we're still on station, the radiation shielding won't hold. She's more important than any book or chart. Doesn't she understand that?" His thoughts, usually playful and flirtatious, were now edged with genuine concern. The sincerity of his worry for her safety made something warm unfurl in Zara's chest. "Where would we go?" she asked, allowing him to pull her toward the exit. "My ship. The Stellar Wanderer has military-grade shielding. We can ride out the storm in the outer system. And we'll be alone. Just the two of us. Try not to think about how small the sleeping quarters are, Jax." Despite their desperate situation, Zara felt heat creep up her neck. "I've never been on a cargo ship before. First time for everything. Maybe first time for a lot of things, if I'm very lucky and very careful not to scare her off." The Stellar Wanderer was docked in Bay 94, a sleek vessel that looked more like a racing yacht than a cargo hauler. Jax guided Zara up the boarding ramp as the station's lights flickered ominously. "She's beautiful," Zara breathed, running her fingers along the polished bulkhead. "Not as beautiful as you," came his immediate mental response, followed by a more practical thought. "Need to get us clear of the station before the storm hits. 20 minutes, maybe less." The ship's interior was smaller than Zara had expected, but efficiently designed, with warm lighting and surprisingly comfortable furnishings. Jax settled her in the co-pilot seat before beginning his pre-flight sequence. "Buckle in," he said, his hands flying over the control panels. "Departure's going to be rough with this much traffic." Through the viewports, Zara could see dozens of ships fleeing the station like startled birds. The solar storm was visible now, a massive wall of charged particles and electromagnetic fury bearing down on their position. Beautiful and terrifying. Like a lot of things in life? "Are you always so philosophical during emergencies?" Zara asked, then immediately regretted the question. She was still getting used to the casual intimacy of hearing his thoughts. Jax shot her a quick grin as the Stellar Wanderer lifted off. "You'd be surprised what goes through a pilot's mind during takeoff. Though lately, it's been mostly thoughts of you, sitting in my co-pilot's seat like she belongs there. Like she's always belonged there." The ship shuddered as they cleared the station's docking bay, caught in the gravitational wake of so many vessels departing at once. Jax's hands were steady on the controls, but Zara could feel his concentration, the way he was calculating vectors and timing with split-second precision. "You're very good at this," she said softly. "Years of practice. And right now, I've got the most precious cargo I've ever carried." They reached the edge of the solar system, just as the storm engulfed New Europa Station. Through the rear viewport, Zara watched the massive structure disappear behind a wall of roiling energy and charged particles. "How long will we have to wait?" she asked. 6 hours? maybe 8. Depends on how long the storm takes to pass. Jax turned in his pilot's seat to face her. Hope you don't mind close quarters. The Stellar Wanderer wasn't exactly designed for passengers. Especially not passengers who make me think things that would probably get me arrested in several systems. I heard that, Zara said, though she was smiling now. Good. Means I don't have to pretend to be a gentleman. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Want the tour? The ship was indeed small. A compact galley, a tiny refresher unit, and a single sleeping compartment that was barely large enough for one person, let alone two. Jax had done his best to make it comfortable, with soft lighting and what looked like real fabric instead of standard shipboard synthetics. You live here? Zara asked, running her hand over the surprisingly luxurious bedding. Home is where your ship is, Jax replied. Though lately, I've been thinking it might be nice to have someone to share it with. Someone exactly like you. Someone who understands what I'm thinking without me having to explain. Someone who blushes when I think about kissing her. Zara turned to face him, her heart hammering against her ribs. Jax, I know this is crazy, he said quickly. We barely know each other. But when I'm around you, when you're listening to my thoughts, it feels like you know me better than people I've known for years. Because you do know me. The real me, not the charming rogue act I put on for everyone else. It's terrifying, Zara admitted. Knowing someone's thoughts, feeling what they feel, most people hate it when they find out what I can do. Most people are idiots. Jax stepped closer and she could feel the warmth radiating from his body in the small space. Do you know what I was thinking the first time I saw you? Finally, someone who might understand me. Someone who won't be fooled by the surface. That was after you thought about how I looked, Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. Well, yes, I'm still human. His grin was self-deprecating. But underneath all the creative imagery, I was thinking that you might be the first person who could see past all my defenses. He reached up to touch her cheek, and Zara leaned into the contact without thinking. His thoughts washed over her, desire, yes, but also tenderness, hope, and something deeper that made her breath catch. She's perfect. Absolutely perfect. The way she fits against my hand. The way she looks at me like I'm worth something more than my reputation. You are worth more, Zara said. So much more. That was when he kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. But Zara had never wanted anything less. She melted against him, her hands fisting in his shirt as his arms came around her. The mental connection between them flared like a nova. She could feel his desire, his careful restraint, his amazement that she was kissing him back. And he could feel her nervous excitement, the way her heart raced, the gentle flowering of trust as she let her own barriers down completely. This is what I've been missing, his thoughts whispered through her mind. This connection, this understanding, when they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Zara's face was flushed, but for once it wasn't entirely from embarrassment. The storm could last hours, Jax said, his voice rough. Hours alone with her. Hours to explore this connection, to show her how beautiful she is, to learn every thought that makes her blush. I know, Zara replied, her own thoughts finally loud enough for him to sense. I'm not as innocent as you think I am, Jax Sterling. I have an imagination too. His eyes widened as her mental voice caressed his consciousness, full of shy curiosity and growing desire. Zara Nexus, he breathed. You're going to be the death of me. But what a way to go, she laughed, the sound like music in the small cabin. Show me, she whispered against his lips. Show me what you've been thinking about. Outside, the solar storm raged against the ship's hull, but inside, two minds touched and merged, discovering that sometimes the most intimate connection isn't physical at all. It's the moment when two souls recognize each other across the vast emptiness of space and decide they never want to be alone again. When the storm finally passed and they returned to New Europa Station, neither Zara nor Jax were quite the same people who had fled together hours before. They were something new, something more. Two individuals who had found perfect harmony in the space between thought and feeling, between mind and heart. And as they walked hand in hand through the library's familiar halls, Zara realized that her telepathic abilities weren't a curse after all. They were the key to finding someone who understood her completely, someone whose thoughts she never wanted to stop hearing, especially when those thoughts are about forever. Jax's mental voice whispered, warm and content in her consciousness. Forever sounds perfect, she thought back, and meant it completely.